Welcome to the Scene Podcast.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Scene Podcast. I'm your host, Justin Borak, joined by my wonderful producer and editor, KJ. KJ, how you doing?
I'm doing so good, Justin. I just saw the North American pilot production of Harry Potter and the Cursed Child High School edition at Hoboken High School. To everybody involved in the production, congratulations. It's an incredible accomplishment.
That's amazing. We have an awesome episode for you guys today. We have Candrice Jones on the show, playwright of the hit play Flex. I believe it just happened at Lincoln Center Theater in the last year, and it took over New York. She is a wonderful, amazing, brilliant playwright. If you're someone who loves sports on the stage, you're going to be really, really excited for this very cool conversation. So I'm not going to hold it back anymore. Let's get right into it. KJ, let's get into the first segment.
Shows you should know.
All right, it's time for Shows You Should Know, the segment where I get to do my favorite thing in the world, tell you all about plays and musicals you might not have heard of but need to consume ASAP. Today we had the wonderful Candrice Jones on the show, so of course I'm going to start off with Flex. We talk a lot about Candrice's play Flex in the interview portion, but I wanted to give you a brief summary and let you know what I think about it in case you're like, oh, I can produce this play, or oh, I can, read this. I guess anyone can read this play, but I want to read this play. I want to give you a little bit of a breakdown of it, okay? The pressure is on for the 1998 Lady Train High School basketball team. On top of a battle to bring home the championship trophy, it is also college scouting season. But the team's performance on the court is tested as it ruptures under the weight of its own infighting, and the once tight players begin to focus on their own individual futures and careers. What does it mean to be a black girl on the brink of freedom and womanhood in a small town in the South? Does honoring your own wants mean sacrificing your friends, family, and team? This funny and frank play about getting a full court press from life will have audiences cheering. Now, one of the coolest things that I learned in this interview is that Candrice is a past female basketball player, is a past basketball coach, and it stays so true to the sport. I say this all the time, but it's so hard to do a play with sports on the stage and make sports fans like myself go yo, this is legit. And that's exactly what this does. This play does a really good job of balancing the basketball and the relationships throughout the play and using the love and the passion of basketball to help them figure out their obstacles in life. It's a really wonderful play that uses sports not as just look, we're doing sports on the stage, but on top of just doing sports on the stage, it also is doing something really, really important, which is using the benefits and the team building and the qualities that you get from being an athlete and looking at how that affects your relationships and your friendships and your family. And on top of that, it looks at when your sports starts to take over your life, how does it affect the people around you? It's a really, really wonderful play about female friendship, about friendship in general, and about basketball. And if you are a fan of basketball, you need to read this play. It's wonderful and brilliant, and I'm so lucky I got to read it. I wish I got to see it when I was at Lincoln Center. Oh, God. Okay, the next play I want to talk about is A Rock Sails By Sean Grennan, okay? Astrophysicist Dr. Lynn Cummings has always believed in science over faith in the unknown. But now that her life is changing, the certainty that once was a source of comfort has become a source of emptiness. When an unidentified flying object is sighted heading towards Earth, she grants an interview to a journalist who misquotes her. With her credibility on the line, she invites him to witness the object as it comes closest to the Earth with her. Dr. Cummings hopes it will pass without incident, but there's no telling what she will discover beyond the stars. Small cast, simple minimal set. This is a wonderful play for science nerds out there. It's an intelligent play for anyone who's if you ever gone on a little bit of a Google spiral with UFOs and with the possibility of other life, this is a really dope play because it looks at it from an intelligent standpoint. It's not making jokes about aliens. You're not seeing little gray dudes running around. It's an earnest portrayal of what is the unknown and how does that make somebody who has a life in science feel? How do you cope with the fact that your whole life you've been told one thing, and now slowly the tide is changing and you have to start shifting into this new mindset. It's honestly a really, really wonderful portrayal of a intelligent view of unknown life, an intelligent view of it's not UFOs anymore. Is it UAPs? It's whatever, but it's that type of thing. And it's very, very cool. Rock Sails By. I I really enjoyed reading this play. It's one of those plays that I read and I was like, I need to see this ASAP. Okay, the last play I want to talk about is Jaja's African Hair Braiding by Jocelyn Bio. Okay, Jaja's African Hair Braiding in Harlem is a salon full of funny, whip-smart, talented women ready to make you look and feel nice. On this particular muggy summer day, Jaja's rule-following daughter, Marie, is running the shop while her mother prepares for her courthouse green card wedding to a man no one seems to particularly like. Just like her mother, Dreamer, Marie, is trying to secure her future. High school graduation is right around the corner, and all she wants to do is go to college. While Marie deals with the customers and stylists' laugh-out-loud drama, news pierces the hearts of the women in the salon, galvanizing their connections and strengthening their community that they have longed to make in the United States. This play is brilliant. It's so wonderful. It's a great read. It reads fast. It balances comedy and drama so well. It's a Tony nominee for 2024. Congratulations. So dope. It's so funny. It's wonderful. It's brutal at times. Bio, she really does balance the comedy with the grief in this one. You can tell that it's like an actor writing a play because every line I'm like, oh my God, I would love to say that. She really put effort into these lines thinking how are these actors going to feel with these words? It's a different way to write text almost when you're thinking from an actor perspective. I believe Jocelyn was in the original production of Curious Incident on Broadway. So she has this illustrious performing career, and this play is just something that I think she really was I don't know, she pulled out of her in this beautiful way. It's a gorgeous play. I think this is announced by, if it's not, I know this play was announced. It's going on small national tour at sit-down theaters, and I was lucky enough to get invited to the Arena Stage season announcement for 2024-2025, and Jaja's African Hair Braiding is going to be there, which is so sick. So if you didn't see it in New York like I wasn't able to, and you weren't able to catch it on streaming, which I did, and it was wonderful, you should be able to catch it in a couple places across the country, one of which is Arena Stage, which is very dope. So if you're in the DC area, you're going to be able to see that production. Yeah, Jaja's African Hair Braiding, Rock Sails By, and Flex. 3 plays you need to read, 3 plays you have to know, and yeah, that shows you should know, baby.
Theater in a minute.
That's right. It's time for Theater in a Minute, where I explain something from theater past, present, or future as quickly as my brain lets me. Today's topic is the big man himself, DZ Donzalitis. So KJ, let's get to it. Start the clock in 3, 2, 1. Donzalitis is a contemporary American playwright known for his witty and irreverent comedies, particularly in the realm of young adult and high school theater. He was born on November 29, 1974 in Madison, Wisconsin, and grew up in Colorado. Zalitis developed a passion for theater at a young age and pursued his interest throughout his entire education. After earning a Bachelor's of Arts in English from Carleton College in Minnesota, Zalitis went on to obtain an MFA in playwriting from the Actors Studio Drama School in New York City. His background in both literature and theater greatly influences his writing style, which often combined clever wordplay and insightful commentary on contemporary issues. Zalitis gained prominence in the theatrical world for his prolific output of one-act and full-length plays, many of which are geared towards younger performers and audiences. His works often explore the trials and tribulations of adolescence, tackling themes such as love, friendship, identity, and the absurdity of everyday life. All right, here are some of my favorites of the Donzalitis canon. The Brothers Grimm Spectacular, a comedic retelling of classic fairy tales by the Brothers Grimm, featuring a small ensemble cast portraying multiple roles in rapid succession. 10 Ways to Survive the Zombie Apocalypse, a humorous survival guide spoofing the zombie genre, offering tips and tricks for navigating a post-apocalyptic world overrun by the undead. The Greek Mythology Olympiaganza, a fast-paced comedy that hilariously condenses the entirety of Greek mythology into a single play, featuring an ensemble cast portraying various gods, heroes, and monsters. Honestly, one of my favorite fast-moving DZ plays. The Rules of Comedy, a meta-theatrical exploration of the principles of comedic storytelling following a group of students as they attempt to create the perfect comedic sketch. And then this one actually is a little lesser known. It's called White Buffalo. It's a poignant drama that explores the complexities of grief and family dynamics, centering on a teenager who copes with the loss of his sister by embarking on a quest to find a mythical white buffalo. Zalitis' plays have been performed by schools, community theaters, and professional companies across the United States and internationally. His accessible writing style, relatable characters, and humorous dialogue have made him a favorite among directors, actors, and audiences alike, solidifying his reputation as a leading voice in contemporary comedic theater for a young audience. Donzalitis has such a specific voice that is so needed and so integral to the theater education community right now. And well, I mean, we cannot thank him enough. If you never read a Donzelitis play, bananas. I mean, hit me up. I'll send you one. Like Donzelitis has some killer stuff. But go check out all of his work. A lot of it's over on PlayScripts, and on PlayScripts you can read plays for free. So go check out his stuff. Donzelitis, one of the most important people on the planet for high school theater. Seriously. Ah. Okay, that's enough. Goodbye.
And now, an interview with Candrice Jones.
Today, I'm joined by Candrice Jones, a playwright, poet, and educator based out of Minneapolis. She's most recently penned the play Flex, which had an amazing run at Lincoln Center this past year, and I cannot wait to talk to her all about it. Candrice, how are you?
I'm well. I'm well. One correction, I am no longer based out of Minneapolis.
No way,
In
really?
fact, in fact, I've moved twice
Oh my
since I
gosh!
left Minneapolis. Which was in 2019, I think.
Oh,
2020.
really?
2020.
The
Hardcore
reason why I
2020.
saw that is because I was reading through some of your bios and stuff, and I saw that, and I know that you are connected to the Playwright Center, and you
I
were,
am.
yeah,
Mhm.
You were a Jerome Fellow.
I was a Jerome and Many Voices Fellow at the Playwright
Sweet.
Center, and it was a wonderful time. And
Yeah,
Minneapolis was cool, until up until the uprising, which, in
absolutely.
my opinion, I was all about it personally.
Yeah, no,
But
1000%.
I lived on the same block
Yeah,
as all of most of the uprising activities. So there was a police station. There was the
yeah.
protesters attempted to burn down. I lived literally on the same plot of land on the same block as that
Oh my
police
gosh.
station. So
Yeah,
I got to see a lot of the protesting up close and took
yeah,
part of it a bit, took
yeah,
part in it a little
absolutely.
bit. And then a few months later, I went back home to Durham, Arkansas.
To Arkansas, yeah,
To Arkansas, to Little Rock, Arkansas is where I went.
yeah.
And now I live in New York. As of 3 weeks ago, I live in New York.
Oh
So
my gosh, congrats! So many big moves. That's so
yeah,
exciting.
yeah. So it's
Well,
life.
wonderful. Well, that's, I mean, amazing, and totally makes sense with the success of your play Flex. Like it absolutely checks out. And I want to talk all about your play Flex. But first,
Okay.
I do a lot of research before I go into these interviews, and I combed through your new play exchange. I love like finding playwrights that still have like work on their new play exchange that I can read and
Hmm.
like observe and stuff. And I read your play Counter Curse, and it's maybe one of my favorite short plays I've read in like
It's
a
a trip.
long time. Can you
Yeah.
talk a little bit about where this came from? It's like this like catfishing, world paralleling revenge tale. It's just so, I was reading it, it's just it
Messy.
was so good.
It's a hot mess. I wrote that play. I can't even. I think it was about 10 years ago, actually.
Really?
Um, it does have personal beginnings. When I was conceived, there were two women who were in love with my father,
Really?
and yeah. So of course, one was my mom, and one
Yeah.
was another woman. That love triangle was the catalyst for that
The play.
play. Yeah.
Oh,
So, I actually met the woman who
mhm.
was very mean to my mother during during my time in my mom's womb. During the 9 months my mom was carrying me, she was
Yeah.
awful. She was awful to my mom,
Yeah.
and so later in life I did meet her as as the character in the play finds. I didn't hate her when I met her. Um,
Yeah.
I thought, oh, she's not a bad person. She was
Mhm.
a person who was really hurt and therefore decided to attempt to hurt someone else,
Yeah.
who my mom while she was hurt, not physically but emotionally, verbally attempted to hurt my mother many times. A lot more messiness came out of it that actually takes place in the play. But the play, in the premise of the play, the young girl gets
Yeah.
revenge on this woman who um, who accosted her mother
Yeah.
during the 9 months of pregnancy,
Yeah.
and her plan was to catfish. the woman's son,
Mhm.
who happens to be the same age as the young
As
woman.
her, yeah.
Yeah, as her. And what happens is that, and this does not happen in real life at all, but what happens is
I was
while
gonna say
she's catfishing the guy, she ends up um catching feelings for him
for
in
him,
all
yeah.
actuality. Yeah. And she has a boyfriend the whole time, and her boyfriend is like, okay, this is no longer catfishing, this is no longer revenge. You're in love with this guy. And the guy who is in the play is oblivious to it.
Yeah.
The mean mother shows up, um, blah blah blah. But yeah, that's what that play is based on. It's a
I
mess.
I loved it. I love the paralleling, love triangles that I feel
Yeah,
they were never meant to happen, but they did these, all these years later, and the
yeah.
ending part when, he writes down her number or he writes down his number and she doesn't throw it away, it just made me
Yeah.
really happy. I really did love
It
that
makes
play.
you
It was
happy. You are not the first person to ask about that place. So I'm like, should I make it into a longer piece? Because it's like, I don't know.
I I think
It's
so. I think it's such a I mean, obviously, I'm so biased because I just read it and I loved it, I love the concept of it and it really was just such a fun, beautiful play, and I love the idea. I love using catfishing and this, big revenge tale. I could gush about Counter Curse forever, but I need to talk to you about Flex. It took the world by storm. I cannot wait. I wanna start off by just saying it's amazing. In your own words, tell me all about it. What is Flex?
Flex, I say, is a play based on nostalgia. Another play based on memory
Yeah,
slash, well, good nostalgia. But it's a play very much based on my high school experiences as a high school and college basketball player,
yeah,
and how my teammates and I were kind of navigating the world that we lived in,
mhm,
trying to navigate in it and out of it and see what else was there for us, as well as comparing ourselves to the rest of the world and
yeah,
what the rest of the world had to offer to other people in comparison to what the rest of the world has to offer to people like us who came from small towns and did not know quite what else was out there, but we really in some cases really wanted to know. In some cases we were like, well, we like being in a small town, and you
yeah,
know, Arkansas for life, and you know, but it's that, it's all of that, and just the fun memories I have of being on the team, and the messy memories that I have of being on the team,
yeah,
and being part of that group of girls that were really inspired by that first group of women that were drafted into the WNBA.
mhm,
I just felt like that was just a really special time that really, in up until now, there was a documentary about the women's dream team. I think it
yeah,
was the 96 women's dream team. But I feel like that time is not um talked about it enough as
mhm,
propelling women into propelling women into these ideas of empowerment
yeah,
that we totally have kind of seen come into fruition almost 30 years later. So yeah.
absolutely, and I feel like it's such a good play for right now with the way the women's, the wom I mean, we're currently recording this in March, and the way the women's basketball tournament is going currently,
Yeah.
like that I
I'm
don't know if you've been
sorry.
following it, but
I oh,
The Caitlin
what she
Clark quote of her saying, "More people are caring
women's
about us
women
than
can
the
vote.
men's tournament."
Yeah.
Yeah,
You better say that.
I
Yeah,
lost
so
my
true.
mind.
Did you hear or have you heard the rumor that Ice Cube has offered her $5 million to
No?
play like 7 games in his league? Yeah,
That's freaking
it's
sick. That's his he has a
insane.
it's a three-person league, right? It's like a
It's
3-on-3 league.
it's I don't know if it's I think it's called the G League. I don't know if it's a 3-person league I don't know exactly the
That's
um
amazing, though.
logistics of it, but yeah, that's pretty amazing. It's
Yeah,
saying that people are paying attention, and they're willing to put their money where their mouths are,
yeah.
wherever it goes, because people are really paying attention to women's basketball right now.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I love the Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese. Both these women are talented and
Killing it.
ambitious and
Yeah.
killing it. Yes, yes.
I
So
was I was hoping Caitlin Clark would take a hit because I'm currently a graduate student at WVU. So a couple nights ago when West Virginia was up against Iowa,
okay,
oh,
okay.
we were like every single sports bar was packed to the
Packed.
gills,
Yeah,
just like
yeah.
hoping she doesn't drop 30 on us again.
Yeah.
Ugh, we didn't make it, but it
Yeah,
was so I mean, I've been following the women's tournament this whole time, and it was so
it's so
awesome to, like that
intense.
was the first time I got to, like, watch Caitlin Clark play, like, from top to bottom because it was because I watched most of the WVU women's games, and it was like, she's great. She's just so good. But I love
Yeah.
what she said about how, like, I think it goes really well with the fact that Flex just premiered this past year at Lincoln Center. Like,
Mhm.
it really is showing this full circle thing of, like, these sorry, I just can't stop thinking about the quote of, like of just
But it's true, and
it is, yeah.
the thing is, not saying that women's basketball is always reliant on men's basketball, but you have to think about the way that Steph Curry in over the past few years
Yeah.
um, has changed the game or kind of brought the game back to like this full floor. Not just it's the game is like kind of full right now. You have all these athletes who are playing very well as far as basketball on all parts of the floor. So it's
Yeah.
not like we're just watching people dunk or we're just watching people like do these amazing moves right under the basket and giving
Mhm.
these posterizing people. We're also seeing Steph Curry, Caitlin Clark, all these people with this mad outside game that kind of got forgotten for a little bit,
Yeah.
because Jordan
Oh,
couldn't shoot threes. But I love Michael Jordan to death. I don't, yeah.
no, of course. I'm a Cleveland native, so I'm a huge Cavs fan.
Okay.
So I've been back and
Okay.
forth on the GOAT conversation between Jordan and James. And when
Yeah.
he left for the Heat, I very much turned on LeBron. But
No, you didn't. You
a
can't turn
little
on
bit when he went for the Heat. But now I'm fine
me.
because he came back and he got us a championship. But I remember
Mhm.
a lot of my family were going to Rocket Mortgage Stadium when he left for the Heat, and they were getting rid of his jerseys, and they were real
Oh
mad. But then he
no,
came back,
that
and we
makes me so.
immediately rebought them.
As you should have. I
I was
mean,
gonna say,
he had to leave and come back, but I feel like it was his journey. That journey was really really beautiful. I do. Yeah.
oh
So
yeah. Looking back, the Bosch, Wade, James Heat team
yeah.
was the most fun to watch. It was so sad to watch as a Cleveland fan, but looking back on it, it's a blast. It's awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah. Okay, here's the thing. I'm a huge obviously now you can tell I'm a huge
Yeah.
basketball fan. So when I knew
Uh-huh.
we were talking, I was super pumped up. I wrote out these two questions, but I feel like they kind of go hand in hand. The play that you wrote, first off, sports on the stage is so hard, I feel like, to accomplish.
Hmm.
And you guys did it so well with Flex. I wasn't able to see it, but just from the videos I watched and stuff like that, it looked awesome. I wanted to know, like, what was the process, one, of you being because playwriting is sometimes such a solo most of the time is a solo activity of a human being at a desk writing a play until it
Hmm.
gets into production and workshop and all that stuff. What was
Hmm.
it like writing these action sequences in your play? And then what was it like putting that on the stage and taking this, like, this live, I don't know, almost like gamble of sports and bringing it
Yeah.
into a play?
Yeah. So I will say that goes back to the first question you asked, like, what you kind of asked what inspired the play. And it's definitely, like I said, a nostalgia play. So while I'm writing these scenes, I'm seeing me and my old teammates go through these motions.
Yeah.
And I'm also putting these characters that I've created, who are not solely based on my old
Yeah.
teammates, by the way, but I'm watching these characters that I've created and their bodies, are imagining them in my head go through these motions. But, I played so much basketball, growing up, street basketball in the gym, wherever. I
Yeah.
just had it in my head. So that was actually some of the easiest.
Really?
Yeah, yeah,
That's
because
awesome.
and then the rest of the play had to be like, okay, how can I conjure this dialogue into this story that is true to life. This the dialogue being steeped in realism, but as far as the basketball parts, I very quickly decided what the strengths and weaknesses,
Mhm.
basketball strengths and weaknesses, and personal strengths and weaknesses were for each character. And I decided that based on these strengths and weaknesses, this is how these characters would play out in a basketball play.
Yeah.
And I will just have to say my knowledge and experience playing basketball helped out a lot with that.
Yo, of course.
Yeah. So
Oh,
it wasn't like I was writing like, oh, maybe, um, it wasn't like it was a lot of confusion for me,
yeah.
because it was always alive to me in my head. It
You're
was
writing
always
something
alive.
that you love and you could clearly see.
Yeah, yeah. And it didn't hurt that I've also coached basketball a little bit.
Oh,
So,
man, I didn't know you coached too.
so yeah, being a coach, even though I wasn't a coach for very long, it does involve having a vast imagination.
Yeah.
Um, and so you have to be able to know how to think about players on a court, um, without you
Yeah.
playing out these scenarios, um, and how certain things might happen according to a certain player's strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah.
And you have to do the same thing as a teammate. So it was just really rehashing memory. Like,
Oh,
yeah,
that's awesome. That's so cool. I never even thought about that from, like, especially from a coach's perspective, writing this play is so cool.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
that's wonderful. That's very, very rad. Well, I wanna so this play is soon to be published and produced
Mhm.
all across the country. You refer to yourself as an educator. I wanna know, there's so many schools looking for contemporary new works to produce on their stages. What do you think Flex brings to specifically a younger, like, high school or college audiences? Specifically actors that are similar to age in the characters in the show. What do you think it, like, brings to them?
Oh, the excitement.
Yeah.
I mean, that honestly, like, you never know what I like personally about the plays that you don't know when an individual is going to hit a shot or not.
Yeah.
And it's great when you have an individual playing the roles of these characters who might actually be able to hit the shots, or
Yeah.
who makes you whose acting ability as well as their athletic prowess makes you believe in them and their ability to maybe hit or miss every time. So just the sheer excitement of watching that play out scene by scene
Yeah.
is really fun. It's
Yeah.
really fun. Whether you are rooting for the main character star who can be a likable character or cannot be
I was
or cannot be a likable character. Either you think she's an underdog or an opportunist,
Yeah.
but or both. But the bottom line is that that moment by moment uncertainty. It definitely reflects the action on the court, but it also reflects true life. I
Yeah.
mean, from seventh grade to 12th grade on into college, young people are going through moments of uncertainty, and every little thing seems like it's going to rise or fall based on one decision,
Yeah.
or based on one shot. So I think that's one thing that draws people to this particular play, ironically, especially people who have never played the sport. People who are watching and have experience with basketball, they are so focused. They still enjoy the play, but they are laser focused on whether or not it's technically correct or
On,
not.
like, the shots and on, like, the
Yeah,
actual
on the
basketball technique.
exactly, or whether or
Yeah.
not these girls can play ball. Which in the Lincoln Center version made me so happy when I heard in the audience that girl can hoop. Like speaking of many of some of the actors, but the individuals who had no experience with basketball
Mhm.
really leaned into the story,
Yeah.
and they were released from whether or not everything was accurate because they were like, this story is about the game of life. you know
Yeah.
I can relate on so many levels, even if I've never touched a basketball before.
Mhm.
So
Because
yeah.
past the sport, the play dives into this group of friends and this, like, it looks at, like, friendship at a young age and how tumultuous it can be and how hard it can be to, like, keep it together. It's but how important, like, a team also can keep a friendship together. It made me think of like all of those classic like sports movies and stuff like Remember the Titans or like We Are Marshall, and like that like friendships you find within an athletic team. It's uh, I love Flex so much. It's such a wonderful play. I cannot say enough. But
Yeah.
before I let you go, I want to know, and I always ask this to the people that we have on, are you working on anything? Is there any fun upcoming cool plays that even if that you're just tinkering with in your head? Because I love hearing what playwrights are doing.
Well, there are two projects that I'm
Mhm.
excited about right now. One
Yeah.
is entitled Love Them First, which is a musical based in Minneapolis on
Sweet.
a documentary about of the same name about an
Yeah.
elementary school, Lucy Craney, Lucy Craft Laney Elementary,
Yeah.
and it's based on the beautiful students and the teachers and this very charismatic principal, Maury Friesleben, who is just a symbol of hope, quite honestly.
Yeah.
And her being a symbol of hope makes the entire school a symbol of hope. And so that's one thing I'm working on. It's produced by North Star Theatricals.
Oh, that's awesome.
The lyricist, his name is Brandy Preston, composer Mark Meadows, and director Kelly Foster Water. And
Oh, that's
that's
awesome.
one thing I'm working on. It's just a really gorgeous story. The
Yeah.
other thing I'm working on um, that is kind of like my own brainchild, not based on anything except for my love for blues music and growing
Yeah.
up in Arkansas and going to blues festivals and observing blues players and
Yeah.
at times being able to have conversations with them and them coming into my hometown or my mom's house or whatever is a play called Play on Jody. Which, if you know anything about blues, then you know there's a recurring character named Jody in blues mythology.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a playboy. That's a playboy character. And
Yeah.
so in my play, there's this blues man who just dies. His name is Bobby. He's kind of based on Bobby Rush, if you know who that
Oh yeah.
is, but loosely.
Mhm.
But anyway, the play in the play, the premise of the play is this person has four daughters. The musician has just passed away or has recently passed away, and they're present for the reading of his will. In the reading of his will, they find out many things, but the main thing is that they're supposed to erect a museum in honor of this Jody like character. And so I'm hoping it's really fun.
That's wild. Yeah.
Lots of lots of music, not a musical, but lots of music.
Like a play
Hopefully
with
some,
music.
yes, hopefully some banjo and harmonica playing, and what do you call it? Sex and love and all that stuff. So I'm
That's
having fun with
awesome.
that.
That's
Yeah,
so sick.
yeah. And
Oh,
all of
that's
them
such a
are
cool those
like
are
all the characters are kind of named Jody, so which makes for the case for the play being named Play on
yeah,
Jody. Yeah,
play
you
on
can
Jody.
interpret it.
That's
Yeah.
Candace, those are two awesome ideas. I hope a third one is counter curse selfishly. Um, but seriously, thank you so much for talking with me, especially about I mean, I obviously got to nerd out about basketball, so I had a huge blast. But seriously, thank you so much
Cool.
for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me again.
And that's our show. Thank you guys so much for listening to this episode of the Scene Podcast. I have to thank Zach, Leah, KJ, our team over at the Scene. I could not do it without you guys, so thank you so much. A huge thanks to Candrice Jones. I was so excited to talk about basketball on the show today. It got me really, really excited. But on top of that, go read Flex. Go produce Flex. Check it out. I'm right now holding the Signature Acting Edition. It's something new that Dramatist is doing. They're putting really cool art on their covers. So if you want to see a very, very cool looking play, a very, very cool play to read, all that stuff, go check out Flex. You can get it in its regular edition. You can get it in its acting edition. You can produce it right now all over the country. Go check it out. Yeah, and thank you guys so much for listening. We will see you next week for actually, I almost caught myself there. Next week we're off for Memorial Day, I believe. So we'll be back in 2 weeks. That's 2 weeks with a very, very cool interview. I cannot wait. I'm not going to spoil it. It's going to be a surprise, but it's very, very cool as our penultimate episode of the season. It's our second to last episode next week. We got 2 more for you. So yeah. Thank you guys so much for listening, and I'm going to end this episode the way I end every episode, by saying the 2 words that every acting student says. And scene? Was that okay? Did you guys like it? Please let me know if you like it. See you guys next time. Goodbye.